Well, this has been a while. Welcome back, guys, to another episode with me, Mrs. Brain Trainer. I am sitting in the West End Chiropractic Clinic on Gardiner Street. I had shivers during this episode. Just hearing Alan speak in the way that he does blew my mind, and I think it's going to do the same for you guys too. We discussed how much physical pain is emotional. So that emotional stuff, your story, your journey, your narrative, can really quite a lot of the time manifest as shoulder pain, headaches. And so when you do go to see someone like Alan, you know, you're not just getting your back, your neck and your head sorted. We are very much of the same mindset of the cause and effect scenario, and we want to know all about what's going on in your life that's affecting this. What are your patterns? Who are you and why are you here? He is a very, very, very special practitioner and just genuinely cares, like deeply cares. It's amazing to know that there's practitioners out there like that. Because the reality is, guys, we are living in a world that operates on treating symptoms, right? It's just the facts. And treating symptoms and keeping you alive just sometimes. And so when you come into Alan's clinic, or the type of things that I do as well, which is why our work crosses over so much, is we want to know the root. We want to know how it got there in the first place. And we really want to empower people in this episode by sharing the truth. We want people to know that there is so much more that we can do to live a better life, so that we don't end up in bad places physically, mentally and emotionally. It was so interesting to hear Alan's journey, how he ended up in the industry. Quite controversial, so get tuned in to hear that. And also the fact that, you know, he wasn't always like this, health conscious. So he's really teaching and speaking from a place of experience, because he's been on both sides of the coin. I really love the way Alan put it. He said, if you're looking for health, a good life where you are connected, where you enjoy your family, that stuff is an inside job. You will never be able to get that outside, okay? Outside is treating symptoms, but for health and a good life, it is all inside. If you watch on YouTube or Instagram, you will see all the visuals inserted from our posture scan. Guys, you're going to love it. I can't wait to hear your feedback. Please do comment, leave some glowing stars. Thanks again. Bye.
Hey guys, I am currently sitting in a beautiful place in the West End Chiropractic Clinic with Alan, and I'm really excited because I've just had a posture screen for the first time in my life, and we're just about to go through what it's shown. So it's so interesting. We have Alan. He is a chiropractor and he is going to take us through it. Hello.
Hello. All right. Hey, Amanda.
Hey.
Okay, so we'll just get straight into talking about your posture. So the posture screen takes a couple of pictures, one from the front, one from the side, and then we kind of match up a few key landmarks on your body, and then the software does its thing. So we're going to start off firstly taking at the front view. So generally it's pretty good. That's probably a good place to start. So we've got the green line coming up as the centre of gravity, and then the red line is your centre of gravity. So that's all pretty good, up through the hips, up through the mid-back.
I am impressed with that.
Across the shoulders, it's slightly listed, so you touch, which way is it? Touch high on your right, a little low on your left, and the same in your, well, it kind of reverses as it gets to your neck. We'll go into why that is. in a minute. Okay. And then the next one is your side-on view. I suppose we can take pictures of these and
we'll
on social
insert
media.
pictures, guys. It's so cool.
So again, coming up through your ankles, knees pretty good. Hips, actually centre of gravity is pretty good, but you can see your bum sticking out a little bit more. Got an anterior pelvic tilt, so where you should be lined up across like that, your pelvis is coming a little bit further forward. That then is kicking everything out towards the front. Your shoulders are sitting over the front of over the front of the centre line, and then your head's even further forward. Pretty common. This is like modern posture, I would say, and a good example. Like this is pretty good.
Yes. I do yoga.
This is what I see day in, day out, and this is way better than average in terms of what I see day in, day out.
My ego likes that.
Yeah, I bet it does. So I suppose if we talk about what I'm looking at when I'm looking at posture, it's kind of,
please do.
Because I think a lot of people have in their minds that posture is just related to sitting, being on your phone, which shoulder you carry your handbag on, or your
working
rucksack
at a computer,
working at a computer, and that is a big part of it. But I think mostly what I'm looking at is your body's reaction to the brain stress. Pretty much what we see, and once you begin to understand it, I think it makes sense. Particularly with the side-on view, but with the front-on view, what I'm typically seeing is a bit of a head tilt. We'll see one shoulder significantly higher than the other. People with back pain, and you'll get pretty big deviations as your body's trying to shift your weight away from any pain-generating areas, and it's just trying to make you feel as at ease as possible, which is kind of what your posture is. It's like what is the easiest place to be, as opposed to it being a reaction to what's happened.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, you can see pretty good here. I think it gets easier when you start to look at the sideways view.
Yes.
Yeah? Because, and again, this is really where people are so dominant about thinking about how they're sitting, but actually, it's a lot of the time that we're just living in a stressful world, and I don't know about you, everyone I meet is stressed.
Yes.
Pretty much everyone, I think. Even people who are managing it fairly well. The reason they're managing it is because they recognised it. So,
yes.
And we live in a world where it's easier to deal with the consequences than necessarily address the causes. So that's where like yoga and meditation come in, and they're good because they help. They do help. They make an important change. But I think it's important to try and address the causes as well.
Oh, yes.
So when you are stressed, you're going to be sitting in what we'd call a sympathetic state, which is part of your nervous system that's controlling the fight or flight response. And when you're in your fight or flight response, you're going to get muscle tension patterns that mean something. Tightness in the hips, tightness across your shoulders coming forward, tightness in your jaw, tightness in the front of your neck. The theory is, it's a theory I like, that it's going back tens of thousands of years when we're seeing tigers in the jungles. You get that fight or flight response, and you're going to go into this defensive, aggressive posture. But we don't see tigers in the jungles. We just have people whinging on Facebook and rolling 24-hour news, and I mean, there's 1,000 things, just like constant input all the time that is just creating a fairly stressed population, and that's where we're going to see this sort of posture.
Wow.
But again, to reiterate, this is good. This is someone who's managing their stress well.
Thank you. I do put a lot of time and effort into it. I guess that's something we would love to see our clients do more of, because it matters, guys. How much can you tell about a person just by looking at them then?
A lot. Yeah, a lot.
Love that.
It comes from practice, I suppose. Like, it's kind of my job I'm looking at the physical aspect of someone to understand what's going on beneath the surface. That's kind of my job. And really, I want to know why. That's the bigger question. And sometimes we get there, sometimes we don't. But often I can see, just watch someone walking down the road, you can understand, right, where they've got pain.
Yes.
Yeah, like what's going on, what physical function have they lost? And and then you can almost read it why, like what's going on in their life. You can, sometimes it's clear, it's just like trauma, like, and that can just be like who they are, like, I don't know, young 16-year-old guy who looks like he plays rugby. It's like,
Yeah.
understand what's going on. It doesn't take a genius to work that out, but you can just read people's posture, and then it gets to a stage where you can almost start to read people's faces
And patterns as well.
This is all pattern recognition. None of us, as much as we like to think we're all individuals and unique, we're all cut from the same cloth, really. So yeah, it is pattern recognition, and that's what we're doing when we see a new patient. I'm trying to understand their pattern, like who they are and why they're here, even if they don't necessarily know it.
Wow.
Because then you can tell the story that makes sense to them, that they haven't ever had told to them, like, and never been able to tell it to themselves. I think when you're in the middle of your own story, it's tricky to
see the
to see the wood for
the
the
meaning
trees and, like,
behind
what's
it.
going on. So I'm trying to help people understand their story. This is my goal for day one. Like day one's like the new patient examination. So we'll run through a history, we'll do an examination, we'll do their posture, get them on the bench, and then with all that information, and they'll do some information for me up front as well before they've even come in. And with that information, then we're trying to understand their story, or I'm trying to understand their story, and then tell it back to them in a way that resonates and makes sense to them. It shouldn't be me making it up. It should be like I'm picking out things that make sense in their recent past, in their distant past, in terms of what they do, in terms of how they view themselves, in terms of what they eat and how they move, in terms of sometimes the supplements they take or don't take. Pull that all together into like, right, here's what your body is telling us about that story.
Wow.
And once you're there, then it gets a lot easier because people understand where they're at.
The connection.
Like, okay, now I know where we're starting from. And from there, we build a future. That's another question.
That is the difference, guys, between a GP and a chiropractor, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got. It is a different.
It's a different way of.
I don't what GPs don't need at the moment is me kicking
of
them while they're
course,
down.
no.
And also I understand where they come from. We'll get onto this later on. I've got like family ties to general practice and medicine, so I understand their limitations. I think I understand their limitations, but also I think if you walk up and down any high street in the UK, you can see that a lot of our approaches it's not working enough in so many ways, and I think modern medicine is a part of that.
Absolutely. So my question would be, me looking at that picture then, would I be correct in saying, because my original question was going to be, right, so how would I fix, I don't want to use the word fix, but how would I make that better? But I want to guess that your answer might be work on de-stress more, and that would align everything out better.
I mean, so sometimes when your emotional stress reaches a point that it's physically visible, you can almost get in a neurological, and I'm not saying this is you necessarily, but you can get stuck in a neurological state where it needs external help to correct. You need an external impulse or input to help reset the system. So when I'm talking to patients here, oftentimes I'm saying that you can almost think of each adjustment as us pressing Control-Alt-Delete on the system, like a big reset, and then your body will revert to its old habit, and we reset again. And the more we press Control-Alt-Delete, the less that this old pattern, the less power this old pattern has, the less power. Stickiness. And your neurology, your body, your being will recognise where it should be based on the environment it has now. So assuming you've changed your environment,
yes, because I was going to say that would be quite a quicker, maybe not quicker is the right word, but that would be better if the person was also taking on the suggestions outside of the reset button, and that just makes sense.
Absolutely. If people are coming to me looking for pain relief, the easiest and quickest way to get pain relief is with painkillers. They do reduce pain. I mean, there's side effects and consequences, and sometimes it doesn't work for everyone. And if it's acute neurological pain, it probably won't even touch the sides. But if it's acute neurological pain, an adjustment in an instant, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference either. Like, it might make you move a little bit better, but if that nerve's red hot, that nerve's red hot. So if it's pain relief you're looking for, honestly, just go and get some painkillers. Like, they do their thing. Like, but if it's more than that you're looking for,
prevention,
well, like living a better life, really.
Yeah.
Like, or it not coming back, or like building better stability, or feeling better connection to you and your life and your environment and your family, and like respecting your body. If these are the things you're looking to achieve, then painkillers aren't going to do that. No prescription's going to do that, because that problem isn't external. It's internal. All of it is.
You're speaking to my soul right now.
Yeah. So like when people come in here and they're looking to heal, I can't heal you. That's not what I do. I can't take that responsibility on board. That's not my thing.
Absolutely not.
But I can help you heal you. I can help you with my hands, with helping you with what we've done and what we talked through. That story, I think, is
that's it.
Really
that's
powerful,
the bit.
because then you're like, people understand, like, okay, this isn't happened for no reason. This isn't bad luck. This is cause and effect. There's something that's happened. So it's really important. I think with the medical system as it is, lots of people are falling through the gaps, and the word idiopathic, which is, we just don't know why, comes up a lot. And I think the medical model doesn't look at cause and effect, and it doesn't think about it. It's allopathic. It's symptom. And like, you can resolve symptoms, and medicine keeps people alive by managing symptoms. But it's not health. There's no health involved. So I don't know, we could rebrand the NHS a little bit, but it's if you're looking for health, it can't come from externally. It's just not the way it happens.
No.
And this is where philosophically, I think, the difference is between chiropractic and medicine. That it's external from medicine, it's internal from chiropractic. I'm not the healer. I'm not really the doctor. All I'm trying to do is understand the patterns, seeing how I can interrupt those patterns and allow the healing to happen from the inside out.
That's what I'm doing as well. It's like, if we're doing the same thing, I'm doing it in the brain, well, you're doing it holistic.
You're doing it through the ears and I'm doing it through the spine.
Oh, I'm in love with this so much already. Learnt so much already. It's so exciting. And I speak about it day in, day out. As frequently as last night on my class, I'm like, guys, this stress, this anxiety, you did not get it. You create it. You're creating it by the things that you're thinking, the things that you're playing in your head. Stress hasn't just came and appeared in your life. The likelihood is actually you've had to be a child. Maybe if you were to go back in your childhood, you would find, say you were brought up around a volatile environment, alcoholics, things like that. You've had to develop coping strategies as a child where you're like, tense, like survive, I'm just trying to survive the day. And your brain won't update naturally. So if you're 30, come and see me, you've got anxiety and stress, it's no there just by it magically appeared one day. It's suppressed emotion from 30 years ago, filtering its way out, and pain. Oh,
I'd even go further and say it was the only way.
Yes.
And it's the only way that you could get through that situation. There's a level of genius involved within us, in our neurology, in our brain, in our body. It's spectacular, and it's above our comprehension. And it's the only, and under that situation, it's the only way that your body and your brain could get through that. So try not to resent it.
To protect it.
Yeah, it's same with people who come in pain. It's like, this is your body doing its thing. Like, we've got to trust it and we've got to work with it and not work against it. Again, that's a philosophical difference where if you're coming externally, you're trying to like, oh, we'll patch this up, we'll cover that up, we'll keep it together externally. Whereas actually what we want to try and do is understand that and learn to work with it and allow you to love yourself again. It's it is profound stuff.
Yeah.
And it's people need to hear it, and not that there's more than one way to skin this cat.
Yes.
But once you begin to take it on board and begin to get that autonomy about your life back in the driving seat, it begins to get easier.
Take your power back.
But it's a challenge in the world we live in for that to happen, because there's so many messages coming from all over the place
to distract us from that truth,
and to make us think that we're not enough as well. That's another.
We will probably go down many rabbit holes, guys. I'm actually just going to read a message out that I received after last night's class that I feel like it just echoes what Alan's just said. We need to hear it, right? So she sent me a message. Let me just go back to it. Hello, Mrs. I know you probably get messages like this all the time, but I have to share my gratitude for the class last night. Honestly, I was listening to you and thinking, this is exactly what the world needs. Someone to explain in easy to understand terms why our brains operate like this, especially if you've never experienced anxiety before. It's so scary. I wish they taught this stuff in schools, and I hope one day they do. You are changing the future. I believe that you will have an impact on education, right? All that stuff's irrelevant, but I feel so mentally shifted today. And basically, that is really why Alan and I have sat here today. It's to take the woo-woo out it. It's to take all do you know what I mean? It's to explain it in a way that everyone can just understand. So I feel like her message, and she said I could share it, would say like this is it. It's about getting that across.
And that you can get huge breakthroughs in small small chunks of information. You can have these blind spots that we all have, that you can just get a light shone on it and it can begin to make sense. Like, oh Christ, yeah, I had my head buried in the sand there for years and years, but actually I can understand it almost in a split second. These revelations that come through, it's like, oh God, yeah, there's a truth there that makes sense.
And that's my journey actually, because it's your belief systems. Anything thought and felt with repetition becomes a belief, which then becomes your filter. I always talk about depression. It's like putting a pair of glasses on in terms of your unconscious, and all you can see is grey, and your brain will not allow you to see that you laughed yesterday, or that we're so elated that your friend had a baby, because it can only see what you do with repetition. So I'll just pipe in here and say gratitude, for example, is your best friend, because gratitude allows you to take the grey, shitty looking colour glasses off and put a brighter pair on, and it allows you to focus on what's right in my life just now, what can I do to feel better today, and take your power back. There's something else that
you fake it till you make it as well. Like, just, you can kid yourself on to begin with. If you keep kidding yourself on, it gets through, because the same happened the other way. It was never as bad as you probably thought it was. And eventually, if you keep pretending life is shit, eventually it will become...
It will, and it's that statement, and I teach it all the time. Tell somebody something often enough and they start to believe it. So I came from I'm not enough, all the limiting beliefs. When I got the memo that if the bad stuff goes in, if it's not true, then so must the good, and I just started telling myself better things. I literally started the reprogramming of my brain process using self-talk alone. Affirmation. This is how, and that's why that person sent me that. It's simple.
Yeah, tell yourself a new story.
Change the narrative. I tell myself every day I'm so happy that I'm at my perfect health. I feel amazing. Even if I'm tired that day, that's the difference in how my day's going to go.
Yeah, you're in the driving seat.
Yes, it's my life. I bang to the beat of my drum.
Yeah.
Right, so let's get into the actual meat of this and introduce you then. So I was just going to say, if you want to give us a wee bit about who you are, what is a chiropractic practitioner, and how you get into it. What's your kind of story?
Okay. Right, so my name's Alan, 38. I was born in Surrey in England. Both my parents are Irish.
Are they?
Yeah, my dad's from
Love the
dad was from
Irish.
Tipperary, mum was from Dublin. My dad was a GP, my mum was a nurse. They both moved to England for kind of work, really, for the NHS. This huge opportunity back in the 80s for work for Irish people. Well, for anyone, I think. It's a huge organisation. And how did I get into chiropractic? So I suppose, had my dad's life gone the way he got the tools that I think I have, I would probably be a doctor. I think it would have made sense. He was a very empathetic, caring, smart guy who was really good at communicating. So like perfect GP. But didn't necessarily have the tools to keep some of that distance, and it just kind of became overwhelming, I think, for him in terms of the amount of suffering he was dealing with day in, day out, not having the tools to manage the emotional stress that comes with hearing all of that all the time, and it overwhelmed. This is my telling of the story, obviously. It felt like it overwhelmed him, and he kind of turned to drink, and it was tough. It was tough. Like, you don't know as a kid. But that was the story. I was like, do you know what? I don't need that stress in my life. I knew it at the time that I think intrinsically I thought, well, I should be a doctor, but I can't do that. That'd be crazy. So I ended up doing a pharmacology degree, and like just, I don't know, rolling through life with never really putting a huge amount of effort and being smart enough to get through, but just ticking boxes. Ended up in a career in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay, right, what am I doing now? And then finally I was working in a job for a kind of an IT company doing sales into pharmaceutical companies. And I was lost, absolutely lost, mid-20s, just going, wow, I don't know what I'm doing. So one morning, Monday morning, I remember it pretty clearly.
It's always a Monday.
Yeah, I was obviously just whinging about my life to my then girlfriend, who's now my wife and will never let me live this down.
Quite right.
Why am I doing a job I hate for money we don't need? I was like, she's right. Okay. And then, why don't you become a chiropractor? Because I'd been as a patient, I'd had a bit of a car crash. Fairly mechanical approach to chiropractic. Maybe it's not quite the same that I'm doing now, but I remember going, oh, this is cool. Like, this is kind of like you're helping people, you're hands-on, but you don't have any of the admin element of NHS, the bureaucracy of the NHS.
The hoops to jump through.
The hoops to jump through, yeah. But by that stage, in my mind, I had a job, I had a career. I was like, oh, cool. Missed that boat, but never mind. So she just gave me basically a bollocking, and I went to work that day, did the research, just looked into what is a chiropractor? How do you become a chiropractor? What does it involve? What does it entail? Like what is that process, and what would my life be like if I did it? And within 2 weeks I'd applied. I think it was 6 weeks later, I'd quit my job, moved down to Bournemouth, and started. Just dropped everything. She wasn't working at the time. She was miserable. I was miserable. We had nothing to lose. It was called brave. It didn't feel like bravery at the time. It was just like, this is the only choice. This is the rational thing to do in this situation is to throw it all away, burn it down and start again. It's a 5-year undergraduate course. I did it in 4 years because my previous degree, tough, like academically pretty tough, but just relentless. Like exams, something like 85 exams over 4 years that you have to pass them all.
85?
Yeah, some of those are little vivas, some of them are big 3-4 hour monoliths. It finishes with your exit exam, which is any topic from any year. It can test you on anything.
What did you get tested on?
It's all coming up. It's all there. This is a huge paper. And then got out, passed, and then moved to Scotland. And then I've worked at a few jobs, and this is 6 weeks into setting my own place up here in Partick.
Beautiful.
So that's kind of that's a potted history of my story. What is chiropractic? It's an approach to health. It's been around for, well, it was called chiropractic 125 years ago, maybe more, something around about that, 125, 130 years. But it comes from a tradition that is global in terms of bone setters or just laying on their hands and helping people move better. This is not a new thing. The philosophy of chiropractic is more the new thing. And that's really understanding why you're doing what you're doing. So I suppose then we talk about what am I trying to achieve with chiropractic when I'm seeing a person, patient or a member. We're looking at 3 elements really. I'm looking at the mechanics, I'm looking at their neurology, and then at a higher level, like a metaphysical level. This is a trickier concept to get across. But I think you would understand it. I don't know about people on the high street because we don't necessarily have these sorts of conversations. It's almost like why they're there and are they connected at a higher level. But we can come back. Come back to that. So the mechanics is what I think what people think about when they think of chiropractic. Partly because they've seen the videos on TikTok of clicks and pops and people moving.
Like me last night.
and posture, I think, is also like, or back pain as well. I think something's not moving right. It's a mechanical problem. So we've got that level, and then we've got the neurological level, and this is where we can talk about the safety pin cycle. This is a historic concept of chiropractic. It's not quite so current anymore, but it's a very visual analogy that helps people understand what's going on. And what we're looking at is information coming from the body, traveling up to the brain, and then information being processed in the brain, and then traveling from the brain down to the body. And you can kind of look at this as a safety pin. If there is dysfunction or neurological dysfunction, we call that safety pin cycle being open. This is that openness, when a safety pin is unlocked, comes from a subluxation. This is a neurological discrepancy in information. And if that is happening, the quality of information between the body and the brain and the body is diminished. So what I'm looking to do is correct that, or remove that interference and allow that information to flow properly. Because if your brain is getting better information from your body, it's going to send better information out to your body. So that's the neurological level. I suppose the mechanical level should make sense if you have any like TikTok level of understanding of chiropractic. Just things aren't moving right. Help it restore that movement, help it move right. And then the metaphysical level. So a philosophical level, all right, bear with me. We've got your innate intelligence. This is a chiropractic concept where your body knows what it needs to do. Health comes naturally. It doesn't need any help. It just needs no interference. And then we also have the universal intelligence. These are kind of bigger concepts of why the universe is what it is, or what's going on at a huge level. That can be your religion, your God. It can be your understanding of physics. It's left open to interpretation at a chiropractic level. But we want to make sure that you are sitting in a world that is connected with that. I think that kind of makes sense. So when I'm working at my best, I'm trying to be at all 3 of those levels. The mechanics, understanding what's going on in terms of your function and your process, your neurology, there's different ways of measuring that, but making sure that the brain and the body are communicating as effectively as possible. And then at a higher level, a metaphysical level, that your innate intelligence is as connected to the universal intelligence as possible. this is weirder. This is the hippie bit of chiropractic.
So like energies and frequency kind of chat.
Resonance, maybe.
Resonance, yes, perfect word.
This is probably the area of chiropractic that can put people off because it sounds it's pretty out there. But actually, it's the thing that separates us from a lot of other practices. But it is everything. Yeah, it's your purpose.
That is your purpose.
Once you're connected in your life, and you have found a purpose and an identity as part of something bigger than you.
The hairs are standing up on my arms, guys.
Then health is the natural outcome.
It's improved, yes.
Yeah,
it's only natural to feel when you're on purpose. Everything's just easy and effortless.
Yeah. So when we say that, with chiropractic, I'm not looking to cure symptoms. I'm looking to restore function.
Yes.
But really, I'm probably not even looking to restore function. I'm looking to reconnect you with who you are.
Your true, authentic self.
And from that, then, hopefully, your health or your function will improve, your symptoms will reduce, and your health in general will improve. But actually, it's deeper than that because health is a concept that I think can be quite reductive.
Yes.
I think we all look at it as just like, well, I don't have pain. If I don't have pain, I'm healthy. But actually, we don't measure health at all well in our world.
Yeah, you said something to me in our first chat about this, and it's like, I'm positive we were talking about how you're like, you hear people say, I look after my health, but then if you were to look at their lifestyle, it's like, maybe they're people.
Oh yeah, so I think we're talking like sometimes when I get patients in, we'll ask them to measure their health. Like, tell me, like, how would you rate your health out of 10?
Yes.
Yeah. Routinely 7 or 8. That's the typical question. And then people with sort of more emotional health issues will go 2 or 3. So these are the two
favourite numbers.
These are the groups. And that 7 or 8, that person who rates themselves at 7 or 8, like often they're maybe on 4 or 5 medications. They've got some chronic illnesses, hypertension, diabetes. These are chronic and serious health conditions that I think if you have it, the only way you can get by is by ignoring it. It's like, well, I'll take my pills and I'll just bury my head in the sand. So I kind of understand that. And also they're basing their health as relative to Jeff next door, and he's got cancer. So compared to him, I'm fine. I'm doing all right. And then as a society, actually, health is pretty terrible. So yeah, they're probably around about average. And if you're around about average, it's not a crazy thing to go up 7 or 8. I get it. Like it does make sense. I think it's wrong, but I can see how they're coming up with it. So I'm actually getting a poster designed at the moment. I'm going to help people view this differently. That like maybe the 1 to 10 as a scale isn't great, because who wants to rate themselves at 0?
No.
So I'm working on like the scale and whether we're going to use numbers or not, but it can be put in clearer ways. That at the lower end of the scale, we've got serious illness, and I would put some of those chronic health conditions in that. Like diabetes absolutely is a serious health condition, and it's hard to say, and it's even harder to hear. It's like if you have type 2 diabetes, it is likely to be a key factor in how you die. Brutal to hear, but it's correctable.
Yes.
A lot of the time.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy necessarily, but it's correctable. And then all the other ones. And then in the middle, we've got like dysfunction, poor sleep, poor energy levels, headaches, digestive issues, skin complaints. This is where a huge percentage of the population is sitting. And these are not nothing. It means something. But back pain, neck pain. That's probably.
No, that would lead us nicely into the physical pain, the emotional pain coming out manifested as all of this.
And in this bit, we can also put all those emotional problems, and this is what you're dealing with, I'm sure.
Yes.
Like disconnection, depression, anxiety, because it's all linked. Like all of this stuff is linked, because none of this stuff happens for no reason. This is all lifestyle based, or stuff that we've dragged with us from our childhoods or even before. If you want to go really deep into it. So this is about, like, if we're going to say -10 is really ill, in a bed in a hospital with cancer or something serious, and then we can go up through maybe diabetes, -7, -6, asthma, -3, like serious. It can cost you your life, and it does kill people day in, day out. But it can be well managed. Up to these sort of middle levels of headaches, like low level dysfunction. So maybe it's -2 to +2, +3, and then we go up into the positives. How many people do you know up above this?
Not many.
Like, this is where we should be looking to, and like then we're looking at not symptoms, we're looking at function. Right? How connected are you? How much activity and exercise do you do? How far into the future are you looking? What's your social life like? What's your family life like? How's your relationship with yourself? These are bigger questions that then you can start to look at when you've broken through outside of symptoms more into function. And then we can start talking about health.
I'm putting this poster everywhere.
This is health.
Yes.
And this isn't what our health system looks at.
No.
If you're here, you're not part of the NHS.
Yes.
If you're in the dysfunction level, you may or may not get help. Possibly, but you'll very much be like given painkillers or antidepressants or statins or like whatever the sort of main bulk of the pharmaceutical prescriptions that we get prescribed come from here. And then if you're in the disease bit, so right down at the bottom, absolutely the NHS is a good place to go. Like, they'll keep you alive. 100% they will keep you alive. Well, maybe not 100%, but
yeah, it's your best chance.
Yeah, at least like in crisis times. But the journey out of there is actually the same at every stage. Like, the stabilization can come externally, but the healing has to come internally. And that is how you live your life, and that is.
And I do say to people, especially with maybe depression, or they're in a place where they're thinking about suicide and things like that. If you're going to take the medication, I'm not going to sit here and bash any form of any help that anybody needs at any one time. But what I will say, and I stand by, is make sure you're doing the internal work along with it, so you're not stuck with that numbness and that sellotape, that plaster. Because if the medication was to go off the market in a year's time, you would still, and it was took from you, you would still be in the exact same place. So make sure you're working on both. Because if you're taking medication, and now don't feel bad about kind of what we're kind of saying, but we're like, depending on where you are on the scale, there is definitely an opening for you to take that responsibility back and start doing the internal healing as well.
Doing the work.
Yes, and it is work. I work myself every day, and I have done for 16 years.
Yeah, it's tough.
And always will.
Yeah. So that's why I do want to come at this from a place of compassion, because I've not always been healthy.
No.
My posture's not always been good. I've not always been flexible. I've not always, I've had depression several times, once pretty grim, once moderate. My diet's not always been clean. I've drunk heavily socially, never necessarily destructively. Depends on how you look at it, I suppose. Drugs, I haven't lived a clean and healthy life, so I get it, and like I've seen illness and suffering. Like, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it from in my parents. I've seen it in patients. I've seen it in friends. I get it. So this is not easy. But if it was easy,
everybody would do it.
We wouldn't the high street would look different. But not only would our high street look different, our society would be different.
Yes.
Which is like a deeper, bigger question, and I think it's relevant when we're sitting in here whilst COP26 is going on down the road, and these are bigger, deeper questions that I think if we worked in a world that was more connected. I wasn't going to go here, but it's worth talking about, like, philosophy and reductionism is our, as a society and as science and as health, is our key model, that you break everything down to its key components and then you can understand it at a deep level. But actually, once you bring that back up, it doesn't all necessarily make sense in an interconnected way. Does that make sense? So trying to come at all of these problems in a more holistic way, understanding how health connects into the environment and connects into the economy, and trying to work out what is the best way of building a model that is interconnected. I'm not intelligent enough to do that at an international geopolitical level, but I can try and work it out for me. And when I kind of learned more about chiropractic philosophy, it helped me in lots of other different ways, not just about my job, but about who I am and why I'm here and what that means, and how I can be here in a way that feels real and deep and important. Who doesn't want to feel important?
Exactly.
So then you understand the decisions that you've got day in, day out, of like everything, how you move, what you do, how you speak to people, how you think about yourself, what you eat, what supplements you take, how you interact with your world, and why. And that's maybe again goes back to the purpose question, the deeper, trickier thing to put into words, because it's not really a word, it's a feeling. And then you can kind of like navigate the world at a level that
a meaningful
level, and then it's easier because the decisions are coming through this.
Because you're being authentic as well, and it's like that just makes your whole experience in your life way more enjoyable. And I believe everybody should experience that, because I used to not be that, and it's not fun.
Heartbreaking.
People pleasing.
Most people
like
don't. I would think. It's tricky to know, but that'd be my judgment on it. That most people don't get that.
Because we're not taught it, I guess.
It's not taught. It's not necessarily respected. It's not economically valuable.
It's shunned, actually.
Yeah, because that gives you autonomy.
Yeah.
Going down another rabbit hole. But it gives you autonomy. It's like, I don't think we have structures and systems in place that really want that to happen from a population.
No.
But because once you've got it, then like you start to question everything. Well, does that make sense to me? Does that make sense to me? Does that make sense to me?
And I think it creates, like, when you follow that path, anything that's, when something doesn't make sense because it's so conflicted with your authentic self. So it's a feeling. You just know it's off, and you start to be able to understand yourself more, what you like, what you don't like. Love that life.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful. And I sometimes try to imagine a world where most people are like that.
Me too.
That's the utopia I want to move towards, because I don't know what it represents. I don't know what that world would be like, really. But I'd like to give it a shot.
Me too.
Let's give it a go and see what happens. Like, I can't imagine it would be more destructive than the world we live in now.
I'm optimistic, and I don't really look on what's happening outside. I create my own internal. I am always hopeful and optimistic that more people sharing stuff like this, that ripple effect, and we will get to some level of it.
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I'm looking
absolutely.
forward to it.
So the founder of Chiropractic, a guy called BJ Palmer, came up with the big idea. This is the ripple effect, that you never know what impact this adjustment that you have on this person, what impacts that can have beyond here. So, like, I'm thinking, like when I'm discussing this clinic, like, community is a big part of it. I want to be a part of the community, in here and out of here, because I'm positive. I believe in people, and I am optimistic in general. Sometimes it's hard,
Yeah.
but in general, I think if people were given the right environment to live in, better stuff would happen. So, yeah, like the ripple effect is really important, and conversations like these and help people think in a little bit of a different way, or experiencing someone else's ideas. You don't necessarily have to feel it, but like trying to step in their shoes for a while, it can help, because I know my journey. I know where I've come from, and I'm the same as everyone else, cut from the same cloth.
100%.
I'm no genius. Like, I'm not. I haven't had divine interventions.
No,
It's just like,
we're not like.
I was a bit lucky that I got a few key points at the right time, and I was open to it, or desperate enough. Probably the latter.
Same.
And was able to go about it, but I believe that everyone can do it.
Oh, me too. I'm the walking advert, Alan. Like, I was literally, I had no hope. Where I came from, you weren't supposed to be anything or do anything, and if it can work for, it was at a young parent group. This man gave me a book on the mind, Jim Bowman, shout out. Always like to mention him, because he changed my life. And he goes, I didn't change your life, I just suggested that book. And I said, but if you weren't there, that ripple wouldn't have affected me, and I've managed to affect all of those people who then go on to affect their children, and it just gets me so excited.
Yeah, because it's your purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, right. It's like you can't describe it really. It's just like a feeling. And it doesn't have to be helping people. Like, your purpose doesn't. It can be. It could be absolutely.
It could be growing plants, like taking pictures of, I don't know, the sky. Like, if that's what makes you feel like that, then do more of it.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be your job.
No, true.
And that can be barriers get put up for people. How can I make a living out of that? Well, maybe you can't. Maybe you shouldn't worry about it. Maybe you're not a capitalist, so just don't worry about it. Build a life that works for you, but try and find purpose, and hopefully the happiness will come out of it. But I wouldn't chase happiness.
No.
Chase your purpose, chase connection, chase stuff that resonates with you. From there, it's easier to be happy.
Love that. What do you do then? I'm curious what you do to look after oneself in this world.
Yeah, so again, it comes through a chiropractic framework. We were taught about the 3 T's: thoughts, toxins, and traumas. These are the physical, chemical, and emotional stresses in life that can, once they build up, can begin to overwhelm your internal resilience. So I'm looking at this seesaw. We've got external stresses, internal resilience, and I want to try and address both sides of that seesaw. The thoughts, the toxins, the traumas. So thoughts are your emotional health. So when I'm looking at that, this is where I'm going to sound. I feel like a hypocrite at the moment. I'm not meditating. I haven't been actively in meditation practice. My excuse that I'm telling myself is the stress of setting all this place up was, and it's the thing that dropped off first. It was, and I'm not surprised by that. I don't necessarily understand why, but I still do a little bit of like meditation-y stuff without it being a formal practice. But meditation, and then exposing myself to like positive stuff, well, not necessarily positive stuff that is meaningful to me. The books I read, the films I watch, the music I listen to, that stuff, like, does it get me going? Physical, then it's exercise.
Your bike.
my bike, I run, I walk the dog, I'm active all the time. Body weight exercises, press ups, pull ups, bit of yoga. Just like
Diet.
And then diet, yeah. Like I'm not particularly extreme with my diet. Like I concentrate on it. I don't eat huge amounts of I don't really eat much processed food. I try and limit the amount of carbohydrates I eat. I limit the amount of bread and pasta and gluten-based products that I eat. Try to eat fairly, generally made at home. Like I don't eat a huge amount of milk or a huge amount of cheese, but I would say I'm an omnivore. But I come at it from a health point of view, my diet, more than necessarily an environmental or how would you describe veganism? It's not, like
for another purpose. You do it purely to feel good.
Pretty much, yeah. To maintain my health in the short, medium, and longer term. Drink lots of water. Try not to drink a huge amount. Drink a lot less than I used to, but I still drink intermittently. But I know I pay the price for it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Me too. It's just not worth it.
And I think I don't really get drunk anymore, but I still drink a bit. It's going to become less and less, I'm sure.
What about your sleep? Is that a big part?
It's really important. It's the most important 8 hours of my day.
Same.
That's sacrosanct, really. Like more than anything else. Like I can go a few days without exercise. I'll still be active. I can go a few days without exercising, but one night's sleep, if it's not great, right, that's not good.
Yes.
So it's a key area of focus. So these are kind of the external things. And then the internal resilience, maybe the meditation could go on that side. I get adjusted regularly. And then it's just like paying attention to it, reflection, like how am I doing, how am I feeling, and trying to be in the driving seat. Yeah. So then it's like, and being honest.
Oh my God, speaking your truth, kind of.
Yeah, it's easy to like bury your head in the sand and going like, I'll sort this out next week, or that's not a real problem, or I do feel really tired, but.
Do you like to kind of act on things like?
So I think I'm not hugely reactive. So I have developed this idea for myself of like my North Star, my long-term health goal. I'm trying to get really specific about this. So for me, I want to be able to climb a Monroe deep into my 70s. Okay, and then I've got within that. That's like the high level. I've gone into like more detail to make it feel more real and emotional. Right, which Monroe is it? Like, what's the weather like? What's the view like? What have I brought with me? What's my little treat? Like, maybe I brought a little dram. What whiskey have I brought with me? Like, I like to have a Tunnock's tea cake at the top of my road. It's always crushed, but so I've got this idea, and it's personal and it's emotional, but it's also achievable because I've been up Monroe's and seen people way older than that up there.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well they're just a person. I'm just a person, so I could probably do that. But that's the long-term goal that I want to get to. So then it's like, what are the decisions I'm making day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, and are they pushing me in that direction? Because then I think it allows me to have a bit more of a buffer in my life, so that I'm not having to like be really restrictive. Because I'm a bit of a generalist. I'm a generalist in here, and I'm a generalist outside. I don't really have one thing that I go deep in. I like to have a sort of knowledge and lots, maybe sometimes to a superficial level, but across the board, so that I want to live a life like that, which means sometimes I do want to go out with my friends and have a late night and pay the consequences for the next few days, and like be aware of that and not do too much of it. But it is important to me.
Yeah.
So if I can get away with doing that by occasionally offsetting it and doing fasts and drinking lots of water and like just being clean and sensible, but in a way that I think is achievable and isn't particularly extreme. It doesn't feel extreme to me. It doesn't feel restrictive compared to what I see with some people's lifestyle approach.
Diets and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, diets, and sometimes exercise, and like ultra marathons and crazy stuff like that.
Does that give you the fear?
It's not for me. Yeah.
Why not?
Ultras.
Yes. Because I'm obsessed with David Goggins and his mental toughness.
I mean, he's definitely mental. Yeah. I think it's that generalist thing. Like, I want to be able to.
I want to live to I'm 120, by the way, just putting out there.
All right, 78 and I'll check out. I think I've seen some old people that it looks like a real struggle.
But I don't plan to be old.
If I can live great,
Yeah.
I'm much more interested in quality over quantity.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I'm interested in.
Matters.
But I want to be able to get up any day of the week and be able to get on my bike and cycle 100 miles, run a half marathon, like do a solid hard yoga session, be able to meditate. I want to be able to achieve a high level of lots of stuff, as opposed to like being really focused on one thing. It just doesn't. That's not my. It's just not me. But when people do it, like, Jesus, you're running 300 miles. Good luck. That's impressive.
Crazy.
I'm out. But so it's not. Yeah, it's not necessarily a judgment thing. It's just I think I've got to a stage where I kind of know what feels right for me and what interests me, and I want to be able to, like, if I could go up on Monroe any day of the week if I've just got the time, without even like, have I trained, have I prepared, have I like, I want to keep my health
as
my
optimal
fitness.
as possible.
Yeah, or at a level day in day out where those things are achievable for as long as possible. Yeah, maybe when I'm 75, I'm not going to be cycling 100 miles, or I don't know, who knows, but like, being realistic about that.
I'm a bit of a dreamer. I'm like 120. I still want to be this version at 120 though.
And maybe that's because of the work I do. I see older people a lot, so I think you want to resist a lot of that aging process as much as you can, and not let it become you. You see that a lot where it's like
my beliefs
old before their time, because it's just they get hooked on that number. It's like,
I don't tend to think about it like intently, to be fair. My what's your thoughts on, I believe the answer in my experience to everything is gratitude, laughter and relaxation. I'll start with relaxation. All about the central nervous system and slowing the nervous system and the brain and the vagus nerve, and I do a lot of breathing to achieve that, which is actually how you first came into my a mutual client was like, you need to speak to my chiropractor, you're telling me the same things as him, like, she's just amazing. And I was like, wow, I do, because I like that. Like, you're not getting that, you're not getting those instructions when you go, you know what I mean? So
not yet.
Yes, yet. I love that word. I don't know how to do that yet. I teach people that, but I saw about slowing I believe you can only heal. Well, you can. Sorry, I'm a bit of a tangent here, right? But bear with. So when I am worried, stressed, anxious, fearful, doubting myself, I am triggering the amygdala, right? The fight, flight or freeze centre. And when you're doing that, all of your energy is going to your heart and your endocrine system, and it's preparing you to fight, flight or flee. So if you're unwell or your health's struggling in some way, the best place, or I don't know if it's maybe the only place for your body to get the attention it needs, is to be in a relaxed state, which you can achieve through breath, slowing it down, slowing the nervous system down. And that's why when I get something, they're like, oh, I'm worried about my health, I'm like, guys, you must be doing relaxation then, because it's the only chance. If you're constantly triggering and you're not actually in danger, your body's never getting the rest time it needs to go and heal your liver or your back. How is, like, to me that's a very simple sort of a thing. I know we're not taught it, but like when I'm told that, if I'm stressed out and I'm told that, I would be away trying to get as relaxed as possible to improve my health.
Yeah.
What's your thought on my three concepts?
I'd agree a lot. So if I come at that from a chiropractic point of view, but say often after the first people's first adjustment, kind of what they don't know what to expect, so you've kind of set them up, you've done that first adjustment, you've done the new patient examination we talked about before, and then you set up and you understand exactly what the impulse is, where they need help, try and correct that and step away, send them out into the big bad world and keep our fingers crossed. Right? It's a big day for people, but often what people find, it's not unusual, it's really common, is their first big thing they'll come in and say, I slept so well that night. Right, okay, great. Then my question is, why do you think that is? And no one has a clue. No idea. But I think it does correlate to what you're saying. So I'm seeing people who are routinely stuck in that fight or flight response. Okay, I would look at that as their sympathetic dominant. So your sympathetic nervous system is the part of the nervous system that controls that fight or flight response. Part of it's a subcategory of your autonomic nervous system that is really the system that's keeping you alive day in, day out, based on and reactive to your environment. So whatever the physical and emotional and chemical stresses are around you, your autonomic nervous system is reacting to that and altering your function. So say when you get up out of a chair quickly, it's altering your blood pressure so it can maintain blood in your head so you don't just collapse. That's measured by your autonomic nervous system. But also if you've got stress going on, it's going to change your blood pressure. Same deal. So we are seeing people, both of us, who are in a hypersympathetic state. In fact, we are living in a society that is dominated by people in a hypersympathetic state that are stuck in a fight or flight response and are just surviving. Like surviving. Your body is surviving based on, it's all it can do based on the environment that it has found itself in. Those physical, those chemical, and those emotional stresses. So what I'm looking to do, because I'm not healing you and I'm helping you heal you, is I'm looking to try and address the balance within the autonomic nervous system. We're trying to down-regulate the sympathetic nervous system, and we're trying to up-regulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest half of the autonomic nervous system. And these two, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, should be in constant balance, up and down, based on what's going on outside. But if we're living in a hyper-stressful environment and we're trapped in that sympathetic state, we're just stuck in fight or flight or freeze. And that goes back to what we're seeing in terms of the posture too. So if I have done my job and I have understood your posture, your mechanics and your neurology, and maybe the metaphysical bit as well, but we can leave that for the moment, and I have put a stimulus in that your body recognises as being corrective and helping. Okay, maybe that is even a metaphysical question, but we're looking to upregulate the parasympathetic nervous system. If your rest and digest nervous system, part of the nervous system, is upregulated, you should sleep better. If you sleep better, you heal better.
Yep.
And that's what we're looking to do. Get people in that parasympathetic nervous system. And that is what you're talking about.
So people, like, they do say when you're sleeping, you're kind of healing almost because you're in the rest and digest. And I guess it's got to be quality sleep and not medicated sleep. And there's caveats to all of that. Oh, that's a rabbit hole. I love that. And we're trying to say, if you are activating that system throughout the day as well, it's so good for you. And I know we touched on in a chat before today about epigenetics, right? Now, I am not academic, right? But I understand that this is my explanation of it, right? You'll probably be able to give a much better understanding. But let's say you have heart disease running in your family, right? And the genes. And people just go, I think I'm going to get that because my granny had it, right? That is the belief system. Now, what I understand about Bruce Lipton's work in epigenetics is it's the environment of the gene, of the cell, that will activate whether that gets triggered or not. And that's where I guess I was going with, I always say stress and sugar, and that's where I was going with, if your environment in your body internally is relax, gratitude and laughing, is that not just the perfect state for not to trigger these genes? It doesn't necessarily say you're going to get heart disease if your granny had it. It's how you live your life and what your internal world, which is why I've come up with those, in my opinion, my experience and what I've seen and learned about. That is what I think the answer to most problems are in life.
Yeah, so I think we can go back to that seesaw analogy.
Yes.
Because what you're then talking about is that internal resilience.
Mm-hmm.
We need to both, I think, don't ignore the external stresses.
Yes.
But we live in an external world, like a philosophically externalized world. That's the medical model, is external. It's all like, well, come from the outside and either put a drug in or come and cut something out.
Yeah.
So it's easier for people to understand that bit of, right, do some exercise, of look at your diet,
sleep.
These are the externalities, and it is trickier to look at the internal resilience model. But I think this is the bit you're talking about. Do I practice any of this formally? No, but it's integral to my life. It's like, I have done in the past, and now it's just routine. Like when I'm the sort of psycho that when I'm out walking the dog, I'm kind of looking to make eye contact with people and connect with people and be present for people and smile.
Oh yeah.
And it probably freaks a bunch of people out, but it can get you moments of like just magic, like connect, just a little bit of connection with someone. It can just really turn your day around. So I know when I'm like having those days, like, Jesus, the weather's shit. I'm tired. I'm a bit stressed. All right, I'm going to take the dog out, and I'm going to connect. I'm going to connect with my environment. I'm going to connect with the environment, and I'm going to connect with people. And occasionally I'll connect with my dog, but he's not interested. But those are the moments that like address the internal bit.
Yeah.
Like, are you being? Do you have gratitude for the moment you have in life? And that's self-love stuff.
And how would you describe epigenetics to? Like, 'cause I want to know more about it, but that's just my basic.
So the epigenetics there's a system that is actively turning on your genes day on and off and on and off, day in, day out, night in, night out, based on what's going on externally. So I say externally. I think this is the medical model is more external.
Yes.
The Bruce Lipton model isn't quite so external. He's saying that your thoughts are the same. So I think from a medical model, the epigenetics is change that externality. Don't smoke. You're not going to turn the genes on that cause cancer, or don't drink.
Yes.
But actually, you can also do that by
the
story that you're telling yourself, the internal environment that you're living in. As if you're living in an internally stressful, defensive environment, your physiology is going to change in response to that. Whereas if you can alter that internal environment with the story that you tell yourself, which comes from from practice, from journaling, from really beginning to look at the more positive
side of life.
Yeah, the yin and yang, but also not necessarily ignoring the negative, but trying to
focus more on what's good.
And if possible, beginning to love all of it equally.
Oh my God!
If you can learn to love your worst moments,
your shadow stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That is it. It's integrating the shadow, isn't it? That is learning to love the roughest bits that you've ever gone through. They begin to lose their weight. Like, for me, how personal I kind of want to get with this. So my dad died 7 or 8 years ago, and it took me years to get over it, and not go over it, but like bandage myself up so that I could like
process it, and
not necessarily process it, just like accept it.
Acceptance.
And then I did more work of like really looking deep down at his role in my life and my role in his life, and why he died, and the journey the sacrifice that he made for me to be who I am. It's like, fucking hell, man, that's deep. And without all of that sacrifice, and without him dying, I'm not who I am.
No.
So, like, then I've got lots of work. I needed help with a lot of this. Obviously, it's tricky stuff to do on your own. But integrating all of that and learning to like love that story, and it hasn't lost its power, but it's lost its hold and abrasion, like, you know, the roughness of it. Like it's now like it's integrated into my life. It's part of who I am, and now I can talk about him without it being like instantly right up in my throat, like tears about to stream down my.
I'm getting emotional here.
And I've had to do that with a few things.
Yeah.
These are the tougher parts of your life, but they don't need to be the baggage that you feel like they are. And if you can reframe it, retell that story, and navigate, like, because we are storytellers. That's who we are as people, and that goes back to what I tell them at the beginning. I'm trying to tell you your story.
Yeah. But
really, again, this is more the metaphysics, like helping people tell their own story in a way that actually isn't as harmful.
Empowers them.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's I relate to that like so much, because I'm often found saying I stood on the shoulders of my pain, and I used it to drive me and fuel me. And I've spoke to you, and a lot of people know my story because it's important to me to say that. Like, I lost my son, and for the first 4 years, I guess, like you're talking about, it was really difficult, and I was choking. And from what I've learned about the brain, that means there's still a bit of processing to do. When you can speak clearly about it, it's a really good sign that you've dealt with it in the best you can, and you can use it. And so when I think about him, it's like he made me who of course my daughter did, and lots of other things, but I would not be this version, even though I could have always been it. He passed through my life for a purpose, and he gave me, it's vice versa. Yeah. Like, and we can stand on that and take from it to.
If you find a way of being able to love the trauma, it's no longer trauma.
No.
And like, yeah, these are some big breakthroughs, and these breakthroughs can happen in split seconds. I remember the moment, like, that it just like all fell into place, that I was able to step out of the world, the way that I viewed that series of events, and able to step out of my perspective of it and view it from another perspective, like profound, like a deeply profound experience. And then I was like, oh, right, this is not. It's just lost its weight in a second. Like, not even a second. It just disappeared, and it's never come back. Like, so is this chiropractic? Not really. Like, chiropractic helped me get there. It helped me with like the neuroplasticity I think I needed to get there. But it was a huge, profound moment. There's been a few others that it's like, right, okay, actually, no, this is, and then the rest of your future then just direction, like course corrects, just, and you just plow on.
And that's what you call purpose. That's when I really started walking on my path of purpose properly. And I think, like, I'd just like to mention this because it connects to one of the questions about how much physical pain is relating to the emotional pain, which can bring this back. I went to this course with a guy called Frank O'Hooley, and it was all about authenticity, and it was for actors, and I'd lost Romeo, and I decided that I was going to keep putting myself in uncomfortable settings because I realised I hadn't been living. I was purely living on autopilot. So I wanted to feel alive, because when I gave birth to him, I was so present and like this. I woke up. That's the only way I can describe it. And I was like, wow, I am not going back to living on autopilot. Like, even though I felt like my life was decent, but it was merely mediocre compared to what it is now. And so I thought, I'm going to keep putting myself in uncomfortable, get out my comfort zone. That's what gets us into the present moment. That's what gets us living. Signed up to this course with 40 actors, never, no an actress. I just went to be uncomfortable. Frank's like he's known, he's an outlander in River City and things. So I thought, that's quite uncomfortable. Look at Amanda just walking in there, like, do you know what I mean? Sat in a big circle, and they're all standing up, I want to be in this film, and and I just stood up and I was like, I'm just here to get out my comfort zone. And the colour drained in Frank's face, and I think he just thought, this wee girl's in the wrong room. And anyway, cutting a long story short, it was all about Frank believes in you need to get your pain up and out to truly be your authentic self, because we're all hiding this shame and this imaginary stuff it's a con. And basically within 5 minutes of knowing these people, I ended up going on to win all the wee and I'm like, I'm not an actress, how is this happening? It was happening because I was very good emotionally. I was okay, and I didn't know who else to be but myself, which is really where it gets, it's good. So we're in this exercise, and it's about pouring up all that stuff. And in a room of 40 people, I just started, I don't know where I get the courage from, but I jumped off that cliff, and I just, to a complete room full of strangers, everything, things that I didn't even know I was holding. Like, this pain, screaming about the NHS, and and being a young mum, and how I didn't think I was good, and I left that night. It was like I was 10 feet tall. I was liberated, and I'd freed myself from all of that mental prison stuff, and life became so much better, right? Like, I just started banging to the beat of my own drum, and to keep going on with the story, it turned out that I ended up writing in Frank's book, right? I can't spell, wasn't good at school. When you come from Redwood Flats, you're not meant to amount to anything as far as, the social norm. And I forget where I was going with this, why I got into that subject in the first place, but we need to get our pain up, because that's what it was. The physical pain is coming from the emotional pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's straightforward. It's mechanical lower back pain. Sometimes. But often it is a lot more complicated than that. And people suppress a lot of stuff. But it'll find its way out. Like it always seems to. And if you look at health through this sort of model, there become fewer gaps for people to fall through.
Yes.
I think maybe the more mainstream bit does, like, people just fall through the gaps. Like, I don't know, we don't know why it's there. We can't see anything on X-rays or MRI, or maybe there's a little bit of thing there. Maybe that's the problem. Try this drug or a bit of physio, or worst of all, learn to live with it. Jesus, a poisonous bunch of words.
Great advice.
And if you come at it through this more holistic holistic perspective of trying to look at the emotional world internally and the physical world externally, and then lifestyle stuff around that, it becomes a lot easier to navigate the world we're living in, and achieve health. And it is a problem that you have to achieve health, but that is the world we live in. It's not easy. It should be. It should be.
All the things, I believe we're set up to fail in it almost. Like,
seems
you
like
never
it.
see 2 bags of bananas at the front of 2 for £1, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, McDonald's is bloody cheap, isn't it? It is cheap, and it's easy. And my bugbear is Greg's. I bore the pants off anyone who listens to everything they've got. So much responsibility. And don't get any of the blame at all. At least McDonald's gets a blame. You know what I mean?
Even if people ignore it.
Greg's bring out a vegan sausage roll and they're heroes. What's going on? What world are we living in?
Oh, that's such a great point.
Yeah, but we don't, like, health isn't, in our society as it stands, health isn't particularly important and isn't particularly valuable. And maybe that could change, and I would like it to change. I think it actually, if we put health at a more central and prioritized place in our economy, in our social world, in everything really, lots of other stuff would change, because it's easier to be compassionate and caring and loving about you, your family, your society, your friendship, your environment, and open. And go back to COP. Like, I think if we came at this sort of problem, huge, big, fundamental problem, again, it's beyond me. But if we came at it through this lens, perhaps it could be different.
Yeah.
And it's just about doing the work. Not easy, but it's
that's what
it's
we
routine.
Essentially are praying that people go away and do when they leave us, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe just start with a bit of hope.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big part. Like, it doesn't have to be like this.
No.
It really doesn't. Like, whatever you're suffering through,
just
physically,
talking,
emotionally,
can be such a huge. I think that's why I told the Frank story. All of the achievements that came from that for me came from speaking about how I felt. And I think if more people did that, oh my gosh.
Yeah, let go of some of the baggage.
Oh my gosh, like that's people connect to you so much more. I became so busy professionally when I started going online and speaking about my story.
Yeah, and I think when you externalize the story, you can begin to retell it.
Yes.
Whereas when it's in your own head, it
grows arms and legs.
it's almost like it gets deeply embedded into, like, this is the story, and like it's rigid. It's in your head. You're just going around it. There's no audience. It's just you. You can tell it the way you want, and it just gets deeper and deeper and more ingrained. Whereas if you externalize it, you start to hear it, or you hear it through them, and like, so yeah, expressing those emotions in a way just is a really good place to start. Like,
amazing place to start.
Even if it's just journaling,
you don't need to divulge it.
Yeah, it can be to yourself, but if you put it out on paper or you record it and listen to it, you'll hear it differently. And as you hear it differently, it becomes a little less rigid.
Tangible.
Tangible and changeable. Right, okay, actually, is that really fact? Because none of it really is.
No.
It's memory.
Every time we recall a memory, they say it changes as well.
Yeah, you only recall a memory once, and then every other time you recall the memory of the memory.
Yes.
That's it.
I love that.
So you get one shot. You get one shot to get that recalled correctly. From then on, it's imagination.
And I guess that's what I do in terms of neuroplasticity. What I'm getting people to do is scratch like a CD. Each time we scratch a CD, if you were to put it in, it stops working. So that's a lot of the work that I do as well, by interrupting the programs, the patterns.
Yeah, is it like it's
the same as you with the pattern stuff.
It's patterns. It's and it's neuroplasticity. And it's and I think I suppose if I wanted to get people to get anything out of what we've talked about today from a chiropractic point of view, beyond all the other sort of litany of things we've gone into, is like, you are adjustable, you are flexible, you are not stuck the way you think you are stuck. And if you are not stuck, there is hope. There is hope, and there is opportunity, and there is what you may hopefully you view as a better life ahead of you. And it might not necessarily be easy to get there, and it's going to take a bit of work, and it will always take time, because that's like a fundamental part of the universe that we live in. Time is...
No, I want to wake up thin tomorrow. It's just away. Not...
But you can get there. You can get there. It starts with hope. It starts with a dream.
It does start with hope.
And then if you can begin to build in some emotional resonance to a future, goes back to that North Star thing that I was talking about. The vision of me being up on a Monroe, nice sunny day. I know, Ben Crooken with a 12-year-old cow Lila and a tea cake. and ideally my dog, but he's not going to be around out then. It feels important to me, and it helps the hard work feel easier.
Yes.
So it's like, why am I doing this? And if you have a real strong reason why, it's not so difficult to get up in the morning and go for a run when it's tipping it down, or do press-ups, or
I think our strong why eliminates your excuses, well, at least a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That's why I always link, like, when I'm working with someone in health or whatever, I'll be like, I'll involve their children in it, their grandchildren. Well, do you, I'll be very frank and direct, do you want to be here for? Yeah. Because that's what we're,
because
like...
simply being out of pain isn't enough.
Shouldn't be the goal.
It's just not enough. It's not enough. Like, it isn't enough. We can see it's not enough, because if it was enough, no one would be in pain. But lots of people are in pain. Chronic pain, physical pain, emotional pain. Like, it's all around us. So if that was enough reason for you to change your life, or for you to heal, or whatever, whichever way you want to look at it, then it wouldn't be here like it is. So try and work on a different way. Try and work on a different reason, and a reason that is resonant to you. And that can be, like, I want to be able to pick up my grandkids and play football with them. And if that's what it is, then, like, think about that in a deep way. Spend some time with it. Like, right, where are you playing football? What are you wearing? What do they look like? Make it real. What does the grass feel like and look like? What does it smell like? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What's going on in your life at the time? The deeper, the more real, the more personal, the more connected that vision is, the stronger your reason why is. If you've got that strong reason why, then it's easier to...
I call it manifesting in a sense.
It is,
because you're training your brain for what you want, then it believes, because it can't tell it's not happened. Therefore, it's not a conscious thing your body will go and do. It becomes unconscious, and you move, both things move toward each other.
And then it's easy to walk past the pastries in the shop. Easier to walk past the pastries in the shop, and to stick to the shopping list that you've got, and like to do the behaviours that are more likely to give you the health that you want, and the health that you need, even if you don't know it yet. Because it's who we are. Our health is who we are. And I've really done my best not to throw in any cliches, but health is wealth. Like, it's important.
Yes.
Like, if you get that right, everything else gets easier. and like the stuff I do isn't expensive. Like getting up in Monroe isn't expensive. This is what gives me joy. And that then allows me to choose the life that I want to live. So at the moment, cops on, it's a pain in the arse. I'm right in the middle of it. Well, I'll just shut. It's easier just to shut. Like, I don't need that stress in my life. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. My future doesn't involve requiring huge amounts of money. So I have the authority and autonomy to shut, call it quits, and have a nice chat with you. This is a better use of my time at the moment than waiting for stressed people who've been sat in the traffic under the Clyde in a tunnel waiting to get through, coming here at 10 out of 10 stress when my job is to de-stress them. I can't fight against that. There's no way. So right then, these are the bigger ideas of purpose and why you're here. And I think it hopefully this will all kind of make sense in a way that really everything we've talked about has come at these ideas in a slightly different way, and hopefully in a way that does make sense to people outside of what they're used to experiencing in mainstream healthcare. Because it is tricky because this is how I've felt like this for a long time, and I now don't even know how weird I am.
Same.
Do you know? I don't know. Like I don't know how.
I just feel we're totally normal.
Yeah.
But I get the fact that.
How nuts is this? I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel crazy to me.
Feels like truth to me.
Yeah. But then I don't know. I suppose it's when we'll hear back from people.
Do you know what it is though? Like, we're relatable people, normal, everyday people. That's why I always believe I'm a personal walking advert for change. Like, because I did not used to be this, and I didn't have anything that would have said that I should be it. And I feel like my philosophy and everything I do, it's all about simplicity, the basics, the fundamental stuff. Look after that. The fundamentals don't change. Like, don't come up with a new fundamental. Just stick to the ones that we should kind of try to stick to, and then build from there. Let's go back mainstream for a wee minute. Not for too long though. But one of the questions that came in from Instagram was, what is the difference between a chiropractic and a osteopath?
Okay, so I suppose we've got maybe three groups as we're talking about.
Okay,
so
nice.
Chiropractic and chiropractors, osteopathy and osteopaths, and physiotherapy and physiotherapists. These are the sort of three major ones in the West, or at least in the UK. So physiotherapy is actually probably the most recent. And it comes maybe more from it's fairly straightforward. I don't think it has a huge philosophy behind it other than if it's not moving right, move it right. And it's quite mechanistic I'd say it's very mechanistic in its approach. And that's not to say it's right or wrong. Like this is just a label. But I think being mechanistic, it fits into the medical model.
I was just about to say that.
Quite easily. It does clunk clunk fit into their sort of more mechanistic approach. And do exercises or stretches or squats and lunges or particular rotator cuff exercises. That's at maybe the musculoskeletal level. And then there are specialists within physiotherapy that do stuff that I don't know about. but again, if you've had a stroke and you need stroke rehab, I've got one patient who's unbelievable. Unfortunately, she's had to go privately, but she's seeing a physiotherapist that's it's breathtaking the amount of function she's got back. I don't believe that she would have done it without this physiotherapist.
Perfect.
So yeah, this it's not black or white, any of this stuff, but that's what physiotherapists sit. I think they struggle at the moment within the NHS. They're limited with the amount of time they're going to get with a patient, and the waiting lists are pretty crazy. So by the time they get to see someone, either they've fixed themselves or they're really fucked. Excuse my language. So I think that's maybe where that people get limited with physiotherapy, and it's more, maybe it's not necessarily a physiotherapy problem. It's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So then but typically people would see NHS on the physiotherapists on the NHS, but you do see physiotherapists privately, more sports based.
Yeah.
So that's physiotherapy, and then we've got osteopathy and chiropractic, which is a bit more similar, kind of founded in a similar place and probably come from a very similar heritage of practices.
Mm-hmm.
Of bone setting. These are sort of ancient traditional techniques that have been used all around the world, and still are. Like when I used to work up in Perth, and you hear stories about these sort of local people that were bone setters that did kind of chiropractic techniques, but that were taught by their dad or learned anatomy on pigs and sheep, and like this stuff has been around for just as long as we've been around. So I've never met one, but I'd absolutely love to. You're probably not likely to get them in the cities, but out in the countryside, this is probably not. I don't know how weird it is, but I've heard of several people who do it up in Perthshire, out down in the borders. They won't have a website or anything. Like this is just
in the know.
It's just in the know, yeah. So that this is where chiropractic and osteopathy have come from.
Mm-hmm.
And then I suppose technique-wise in a modern clinic, osteopathy and chiropractic can be quite similar. They can be very different. Like within chiropractic, there's a huge spectrum of techniques. Some are more physical and manual. I'm probably more physical and manual. Again, TikTok-y, seen it, heard it, restore movement, clicks and pops. It can look dramatic. I think often when you feel it, it can feel right. It's that's right. That's what should have happened. So it's like, I think when you're on the receiving end, it can feel more natural than it looks.
Watching it,
particularly when the volume's cranked up on some of those
ASMR.
videos. Yeah. So, and then there are at the other end a lot more tonal techniques that are very gentle, very subtle. I don't really work with them at the moment. There are people who do it much better than I had. So that's within chiropractic. Within osteopathy, I don't quite know about the range of their spectrums, but if I compared like a standard middle of the road chiropractic adjustment to an osteopathic manipulation, so it's just languagey differences. I would say ours are a bit more, so we call it small lever. We're trying to get onto one joint complex and restore motion there. Osteopathy and maybe longer lever, so it's a bit more rotational. So I would know the difference. I don't know if necessarily you would be able to, you certainly wouldn't know the difference looking at it. If you'd be able to feel the difference, I don't know. I have been manipulated by an osteopath once or twice before. It was a while ago. Can't really remember it. So technique-wise, it might not feel hugely different. Philosophically, there is a difference. Again, I'm not really au fait with
what
osteopathic philosophy as it stands now. Historically, it was more about lymphatic flow, whereas chiropractic was always more neurological. But I've looked at like local osteopaths and read their websites, and they seem to be much more aligned with how I would talk. Yeah. I would say there's even a little bit of plagiarism, but so that, but I think they can be quite aligned. Sometimes it's more clinical. Osteopathy is more clinical. You may be more likely to see them wearing scrubs, and whereas chiropractic, I think
more holistic.
Comes it's hippier. It is hippier. I lean into that. I like it. It's like, well, there's plenty of other people doing the reductionistic approach, the clinical approach. I'm going to come at this through a person-centric approach.
Love that.
And then here are my biases. Totally, these are my biases. I think we expect more, we aim higher. It might be a harder journey. I'm going to push you more. I might have to see you more often. I might have to see you for longer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because I want to get you somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say because you care, but I don't mean somebody else doesn't care. But I mean like.
But I think that this comes from the philosophy.
Yeah.
This is why I think the difference between all of these things is philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the reason why, and that's where we're heading. And I know how I experience health, and what that means to me in my life, and what that means to people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel it, and it's great. It's great. It's lovely. Like it's hard work. It's effort. And it's not always perfect, and it's up and down and a roller coaster. Like that's life. We live in. Like it's chaotic out there, and it's not easy. But I feel great a lot of the time, and I want everyone else to feel like that. So I'm going to push you to get there. It's not easy. It's going to take effort in here in the clinic, and effort outside in what you do and how you live your life. And sometimes I don't see that in physiotherapy and osteopathy quite so much.
Yeah.
But if you've got a great physiotherapist,
they'll
who's
have
doing
their
that,
flavour of it.
yeah, and if you have a great osteopath, like keep going with it. Or if you can get a recommendation for either one of those,
go with what
from
works
someone that
for
you
you.
trust, like lean into it and push and get as far as you can. And if you've hit a barrier, try a bit more, because sometimes there are just barriers and you have to push through them. Or sometimes you reach a barrier and it's a bit of a dead end and you have to just turn and make a bit of an adjustment. But experiment on yourself. Like you are like, that's my approach to my health. Like with my diet, like I experiment. Like I try stuff, I don't try stuff, I reduce stuff.
Same.
What's right? Because we like, again, cut from the same cloth, but there are individual details.
We don't need to keep doing something that's not working just because we've always did it that way.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely does.
Yeah.
What's your proudest moment in maybe professionally? I mean, whatever comes to mind.
Yeah. Like, but the proudest moment personally was those emotional breakthroughs. Like for sure, it's like my life is different before and after. Another proud moment is actually just jacking all in and starting again. Like, yeah, you could, like at the moment, at the time, it didn't feel brave. It's just like the only time, and I've stuck with that story because I like it. It's humble.
I'm keeping it.
You know, it is a humble story.
Yeah.
And like I think I am. I like to tell myself I'm humble. Jesus. But it was a jump, and it was hard work, and it was stressful, and it cost me. It did cost me. Getting here has cost me.
Oh yeah.
Like it cost me financially, and it's cost me emotionally. Like, but that cost came with reward. And now I have a story that makes sense to me that I can use to help people understand their story. So that's been good. And then pulling all of this together, all the things I've learned, my understanding of health, my understanding of chiropractic, mechanics, neurology, philosophy, and what resonates to people and what makes people feel right, and pulling all of that together into this place. And it's only 6 or 7 weeks open, and it's like come to life in a way that I couldn't have imagined.
Wow.
It's busy, it's popular, I've had great feedback from people, and it feels right. And I get to spend a lot of my time here. So people are coming in going, wow, this is cool, this is calm, it's contemporary, it's warm, it's welcoming.
Stunning.
It feels right, as well as a thing that's like, oh Christ, yeah, this feels right. And it's the antithesis to general practice, to dentistry, to physiotherapy. It's not those things. I'm not trying to compare or compete. Like there's plenty of those options. Like I don't need to denigrate them at all. Like, it works for people. It wouldn't be there if it didn't work, to an extent. there's my little caveat. But this is, I'm trying to help people do it. I'm trying to do it differently.
Yeah.
So this is the thing I am when I allow myself to be, which maybe I could work on a little bit. This is what I'm proud of. This place, because I can't really believe how whole it is already. Like the vision, the feeling, the smells, the sight, the music, its location, even the new patients that we've been getting in. So I've had a lot of people come with me from my old place down in Shorelands, but we've got a good, solid, steady flow of new patients, and then meeting them and seeing them, and like, who are they? Like, how have they found this place? Why has it resonated with them?
Yes.
Do they feel like they belong here? And it's not, so they're not, this is a broad spectrum of people. But seeing them, it's like, right, I think I'm doing something right, because these are the kind of people that...
It's reflecting back the outside world.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, if I could, I would say this external environment really is a good idea of your internal environment.
Yeah.
And that's why it feels good to you. That's why it feels at home.
It's authentic, yeah. And I'm not I'm quite an internal person. I think, like, my personal social media is, I've got an Instagram that I use like 3 times a year, pictures of mushrooms that I've seen out and about on a walk. That's it. Like, I don't share anything else particularly personally. So in a modern business, you kind of have to be online a bit, and you have to open up. And I don't mind talking to individuals, patients, and sharing everything. I will. Really, there is nothing that is off the cards if you want to ask me. But I've struggled with that
periodically.
Well, no, more like to say that loud, say that on social media, or do something like a podcast. And I found my voice on Instagram and Facebook of stuff that makes sense. It's like, I was really worried about it because I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I fought with it as well for a bit.
And now it's like, okay, I know what I'm saying, and I know why I'm saying it, and I know who I'm saying it to. And then it's all made sense, and it's just all coalesced into something that is tangible and makes sense. So that's the thing I'm most proud of. That's the thing that's like, I can't believe I've been able to do it.
Because it's just like an extension of who you are. Like, I definitely know that you're meant to, your purpose was what you're now living. I know it for myself as well. And it's just such a blessing to be able to find that.
But you've got to share that, haven't you? That's the thing. You've got like, hey guys, look, there's a way of like of feeling connected in your life, and like, I don't know what it is for you. I can't work it out. Same thing. I can't hear you. But
together,
let's do some work. I'll hold your hand, and I'm here. And like, if you have a wobble, I'm right here. Or if it's not for you, that's fine too. Like, and I will hold your hand on the way in. And if you want to leave, I will hold your hand to the door and let go.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. Like,
there's no scarcity mindset about it.
I don't know you. Like, it's not, and that's a wonder. That's a nice place to be. Like, yeah, you just help when you can.
I love that so much. What's next for you then? What do you see for this place? I know we've connected because basically we are doing the same stuff, and they both complement each other really well, which I've loved having this chat because, as I said, I just knew that maybe if I had a problem, I'd be more inclined to go and see a chiropractor than a GP, right? That's just how I do life. But I didn't know that it was so similar to what I kind of do as well. So
that's because I think as a profession we've failed a bit. We've lent into pain because it's easy. It's an easy marketing tool. It just is. So people think back pain, neck pain, headaches. I'll try general practice. I'll try the painkillers. Eventually that doesn't work. I'll see a physiotherapist, but it turns out I can't wait that long. I'll see a chiropractor instead, and I'll just take the hit financially. Like that's the story that you see a lot. So, and chiropractors have gone like, well, that's easy, and you can help people. But I think that's a limited belief.
Yeah.
You can help people a bit. It's not enough for me, because it wasn't enough for me. So that kind of the authenticity of it. It's like, well, I can't, I won't, I don't want to help.
Name to
well, I
that.
don't want to help people just that much.
Yeah. Not when
It's
you know
reductive.
there's so much.
Yeah, so much more. Where was I going with that?
Where you see.
Yeah.
What
so,
is-
where do I see this place going? Well, I think the reason I reached out to you, or I think we've been
We were brought
connected,
together.
yeah, is because there are limitations to what I can do, and I want to know that I know those limitations. That I don't believe this is a panacea to everything, and hopefully it hasn't sounded like that.
No.
But I know that I need a network of people that are singing from the same hymn sheet, have different tools and different skill sets. I want to sort of help. I want to help people navigate this other world that is outside of the NHS, really, by and large, and like with the long-term goal of actually hopefully influencing the NHS.
Yeah.
Of like it just becoming a louder and louder voice or voices
That can't be ignored.
that can't be ignored, of going, hey, look, there's other ways of doing it. There's somewhere higher to achieve. So the bigger goal, I want a better society, man. That's what I want. I want people to experience what we get.
Me too.
More and more people, because that will change everything. That's the bigger, huge, big picture. And then in a like more achievable goal is the community. Like I'll start here on Gardner Street in Partick. If that's it, that's great. Like if I can help more people think a bit differently about their health, not just by being in here, just in general. Like it's a cool place. There's lots of people going in and out. This is busy. This is not quite as weird as I thought chiropractic might be. It looks like a normal business. Once you come in, it feels kind of like a normal business. Hopefully a bit better.
More relaxed.
Yeah. But like to normalise
Home
it.
from home.
And to normalise health. Like that's it. Like because health should just be normal. And that's not the world I see. And I want it to be like that. And then within the clinic, it's just constant improvement, isn't it? Refine. How can I be more effective? How can I be more efficient? How can I interact with people on a metaphysical, physical, neurological level? And then how can I help them develop this North Star? Is something I'm really interested in at the moment.
I just love that North Star statement.
What is your like? How can you interact with them and emote such an emotional level that they can't help but get pulled towards it? Like, that's the thing.
That's so powerful. So powerful.
So I don't know if I've got like a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Not yet. I don't know if that's
quite free spirited though and open,
exactly.
which is nice too.
Again,
Me too.
I'm just not a capitalist.
Nah.
Like in that
Nah.
yeah. So that is it. I think. I mean, there's so much more we can talk about. But that's.
I think we've done our job, which is debunk all the barriers almost that people may have in their mind, and I think that North Star stuff, like people, that's something somebody listening to this will be able to really think about and get. I've loved this. Like, this is just speaking to my soul. I know I keep referring back to that, and I just want to thank you for your time.
It's been wonderful.
I am so excited for people to hear this. So about in a few weeks, guys. And that is us done.
Good night.
Yay!